Hey folks, it's me again. This message is meant for everybody that's new. I know there are some of you out there. Those of you that have never heard of Consortium before, that maybe saw our campaign video or saw something you liked about this game we're looking to make and said, I want to play this. So I'm here to reassure you that you don't need to play the first game. You don't have to play the first game to understand and grok what's happening in the Tower of Prophecy. We're very carefully designing it to be a standalone experience. So the first way we're going to accomplish this is that for players that don't have a universe to import from Consortium 1, with the beginning of the Tower of Prophecy will present you with a series of choices as part of a montage that takes you through what happened so far. It gives you a solid update of what's transpired. At the same time, it gives you a bunch of chances to make decisions about how you would deal with certain situations. For instance, Consortium 1 deals with a bunch of mercs boarding Zenlil, and you have to decide how you deal with the mercs, and you get to decide in this intro whether you decide to kill them all, knock them all unconscious, avoid combat entirely. So you make these choices, and you can sort of essentially customize the beginning of the Tower of Prophecy based entirely on your choices, so that when you begin the Tower of Prophecy, you're set up in such a way so you feel comfortable that it's going to fit your style as a gamer. So the second way we are helping to ease new players into the Tower of Prophecy without having to play the first game is the fact that the Tower of Prophecy actually begins aboard Zenlil. So the C-3800D command vessel Zenlil. See the poster of it behind me. You'll start off in there. You'll be able to meet the crew. You'll be able to use the virtual trainer, which is like a virtual reality combat training system that allows you to essentially get acquainted with all of the Consortium bishop abilities, super jumping and free falling and using all the weapons and understanding the energy systems and things that are on our page and that we'll talk more about later on in the campaign. But essentially become familiar with being a bishop and the characters you're about to interact with over the course of the game, and of course the mission you're about to start off in. You can watch the entire briefing and quite a bit more. So you'll get comfortable with the Consortium before being thrust into a mission for them. So the third way we're easing new players into the Tower of Prophecy is a more subtle one, and it basically comes down to the fact that we're not creating story content or game content in general for the Tower of Prophecy that all players that references the first game unless you played the first game. So if you've imported the universe from Consortium 1, you will find a lot of the events and things you did in the first game having an effect on what transpires in the Tower of Prophecy. But if you never did that, if you just started the Tower of Prophecy and you made those choices in the beginning, those choices you may see reflect on the story, but there'll be nothing else. You would never get references to things you wouldn't have been familiar with, because the game knows that you haven't played the first game, so it'll intelligently be able to cater the content, cater the story intelligent to you, someone who started this game fresh. So one final point I want to make is just on a high level how we're connecting Consortium 1 to Tower of Prophecy. And to do that, I need a chart to help illustrate. So this behind me here is the special edition backer DVD of Consortium 1 that we gave to certain key backers that back to certain levels. DVD, the soundtrack. Anyway, so in here is included in this is a chart that essentially lays out the structure, how Consortium 1 narrative works. Now, you can see here there's a lot of player choice involved. All these little twists and turns are if the player chooses to do that, or if the player chooses to go there, or if you did this one thing, then it affects something later on. See all these dotted lines, those all refer to things you do earlier on, is then referenced later on by the game, altering the event of what happens at that point in the game. So there's a huge variety of different narrative threads players can sort of weave their way through the game with. Now how it works is at the end here, you see how it always ends at free falling. Well, while that may be technically true, the circumstances of the universe you're leaving behind are dramatically different. And all these threads connected by dotted lines and even solid lines, all that stuff is remembered. All that stuff is contained within the universe save that happens when you finish Consortium 1. So all that information is at our disposal. And as you play, by playing and importing all this into Tower of Prophecy, we as the sort of interactive story creators know all this stuff you did, and can reference it and can make note that you did certain things or made certain decisions or said certain things to certain people, or all kinds of subtle stuff that the universe will remember, the people will remember, and you can sort of continue to build relationships that you started in the first game throughout the Tower of Prophecy.